Hi everyone, this is Dr. Catherine Kelly, and what I'm going to talk to you about today is the whole idea of age of the soul. So this book that I'm working on right now is basically to help people understand that the age of our soul really is the crucial factor in how we react or interact or respond in life. So what do I mean by the age of the soul? So everybody has heard of the term old soul, and old soul is someone who is wise beyond their years, tends to be more mature and grounded, tends to be kind of seen as the person that people look to for wisdom. They tend to really not fit in a lot of ways because they don't like to do things that people their age do. They might try to force themselves, but it just never fits. Might feel really awkward. They tend to be more introverted. They tend to go off on their own a lot more. They tend to be very independent and very capable individuals. So as I'm talking to clients, a lot of times I bring up the topic of old soul or young soul, and I basically think of the fact that if there is an old soul, well, then there's also going to be a young soul and everything in between. There's going to be the spectrum. And so in writing this book, I came up with what I'm calling the soul age spectrum. And how I describe it to clients and workshop participants and basically anybody that I run into that wants to talk about this kind of stuff is the whole idea of, if we think about Yoda. Yoda has long been one of my idols and one of my kind of characters that I have looked up to in terms of, I just liked him ever since I was a kid when my brothers would watch the Star Wars movies and The Empire Strikes Back when Yoda was first introduced. Basically, I was kind of hooked. I liked the little green guy. So, Yoda, a little prop here, Yoda is the ultimate old soul. So if you think about the soul age spectrum, basically, if Yoda is way over here on the spectrum, meaning that he's the wise old soul, in the movie he was depicted as being over 900 years old. They didn't really tell what planetary system he was from, and from what I have read, that's kind of purposeful. They just wanted to depict the idea that Yoda, this little wonderful green guy who everybody in the movie turned toward and tried to emulate, that he was the wise soul. He was the sage of the group. So later on, basically, Jar Jar Binks was introduced into the Star Wars series. And, Jar Jar Binks to me, goofy little looking guy, much taller, much more lanky than little Yoda. But his character was basically an infant soul. He was harmless. He basically, in the very first time that he was brought into the movie, he was kind of a bubblehead. He fell a lot. He couldn't be relied upon. He forgot things. He dropped things. It was one of those kind of infant soul demeanors and infant soul essences of who, the character was. So you have this spectrum from Yoda to Jar Jar Binks. And so you have to think about who is in between. And when I bring that up to clients, they start to really get it. Because if you've got this sage old soul on one end of the spectrum, well, then we have to have a whole spectrum of all the way down to infant or kind of embryonic souls in some ways when they are very, very new. And so part of this is, a lot of people can ascribe to the whole idea of reincarnation and how basically an old soul has been around for many, 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 many lives. And some people can't ascribe to that quite yet. But the whole point is, whether or not you ascribe to reincarnation, you could still look around and basically see who are the wise sages and who are the younger souls. So the whole idea, Jar Jar Binks was one of those characters that took a long time to learn something. It took quite a while to learn something, whereas Yoda was known to be basically almost all-knowing. He knew pretty much everything that anybody that came to him asked. So it's that whole idea that whether or not you ascribe to the whole idea of past lives and reincarnation, we can still apply it to our everyday life to help us understand our interactions and our relationships with others. Because we probably all have people in our lives that are wiser than us or wiser than the average bear, and we kind of look toward them. And then we've also had these people in our lives that are much younger souls that don't quite seem to get life very quickly, or they're more dependent on others. They can't make decisions for themselves, or perhaps they're into some habit that they can't kick, because that's another element, is that it takes more tries for a younger soul to learn something than it would an older soul. So I just want to introduce this whole idea and help you kind of think of it in terms of who are the wiser souls in your life, who are the Yodas, and also who are the Jar Jar Binkses, because I think that will help you start to understand what it is that this whole soul age thing is about. Now, I'm going to be providing lots and lots more information about this in the future, and I'm going to give you some hands-on examples. I'm a metaphor woman, so I use lots and lots of metaphors. So whether it's Star Wars, whether it's, I have a whole other metaphor about trees that I can show you as well. But it's that whole idea of how can we start applying this to our lives to help us understand our interactions. Because I don't know about you, but I'm guessing that you would agree with the fact that most of what we learn, most of how we evolve in life, most of what stirs us up has to do with the people that are in our lives. So, it all depends, put it this way, it all depends on where we are on that soul spectrum and what it is we're supposed to learn to help us evolve and help us grow. So to be continued, meaning that there's a lot more I'm going to share with you, and I think a lot of these metaphors are going to help you understand your own evolution and help you deepen your understanding of why we have difficulty interacting with others. So I hope that helps plant some seeds for you, and whether it is a Yoda moment for you or a Jar Jar Binks moment for you, I hope that you deepen your understanding about this whole soul age thing, and there is much, much more to come. Have a fabulous day.